Please help me welcome Justin Briner. And the voice of All Might. Please make a lot of noise for Chris Savage.
I like how he had to tell them to make a lot of noise for me. They just made a lot of noise for you, Justin.
How you guys doing, man? You just had half this place was over doing your photo ops, right?
Yeah. Hey.
Hi, how are you?
How many people just got done doing their photo ops?
Just only a few of them.
Yeah.
There's too many people in the same photo op. They look at it and they go, I'm not spending that much money on to take a photograph with 12 people. Sorry, that just didn't go over very well. I want to take it back.
So we're hanging out here in Louisville. Did I say it right?
Yeah!
If you don't say it right, they'll shank you in the back.
Yes, it's definitely Louisville.
No!
See?
Oh, guys, I know. Come on. I saw your visitor center as we were driving in, and it had 8 different ways to pronounce the name. Louisville, and a bunch of others. But it did have Louisville on there, so just so you know, your own visitor center acknowledges that that is a way you could possibly say it. I know it's wrong.
Anyway, yeah, I'm walking the other way from you when we're leaving this place. So, a little thing in, let's say, mid-October-ish happened. Anybody know what that was? Season 4?
Yep.
Who's excited? Who's been watching? Yeah, you guys are doing this pretty much live time as well in Japan. And how is that going? You don't even get a chance to really watch and see those episodes first. You have to jump right into voice acting over the dubbing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think it's amazing what we're able to do nowadays, and sort of the instant gratification of getting to hear the episode come all together is really amazing. But I read the manga, so I already know everything that's going to happen, because I can't help myself. So, yeah, so in that aspect, it's not so much of a surprise.
It's a surprise to me, because once we started recording the show, I'm like, oh, well, I know enough of it now. But then, the more I was playing All Might, the more I was realizing, at some point, he's gonna maybe die in the manga, so I can't read the manga, because if I close my eyes, it will never happen. So, so far as I know, he has not died in the manga yet. He only died in the anime, which is weird.
Yeah.
I think that was a weird choice, so. I'm kidding, that was joking.
Everyone out there just hold their breath all of a sudden. They're
The new episode hasn't come out yet. Yeah, it's soon.
How many of you guys saw the episode where All Might and Midoriya are kind of walking in the woods together, and he's talking to them? Okay. I'm just doing a poll to see how many people have seen one of the more recent episodes, so I didn't want to spoil it. I'm sorry, guys. This is a spoiler. They took a walk in the woods together. Yep. You know what that means. Allergies.
You guys, I can't.
Two go in.
Do you guys have
One comes out.
any of the My Heroes stuff, like the Funkos or just action figures or stuff like that? Do you guys have rooms full of that stuff?
I accumulate a lot of fan art and things and gifts mostly from just doing a lot of these conventions. So I'm trying to figure out a productive outlet for all of those that isn't just a pile that grows every time I look at it. I think I'm making a scrapbook of art gifts that are given to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it'd be cool. They spend a lot of time and energy on it, so I figure so should I.
Dude, I can give you a hint, because I've been collecting this fan art for a very long time, and it gets overwhelming. I usually just try and take a picture of every single thing that anyone gives me, so just to make sure I have an archive of that, because otherwise it's going to be deep in a pile someday, and you're going to feel like you're going to actually have to move into a new place because you've got so much fan art. The worst, I really appreciate the people who understand that we can't carry a 5 foot by 6 foot painting of a character back with us. Someone one time made me this giant carving, and it was huge, and I had to find out a way to figure out how to mail it home. It was the best and worst gift of all time. Because it was incredible, and I couldn't possibly but there was one time where someone gave me some pretty cool stuff, and I'll admit it was a Sunday, and we were running out of time, and there was no way to do it. So what I did was I hid it in the hotel room. I found these places, these cabinets and stuff that you aren't supposed to look into, and I hid them in there. So someday, someone will eventually find it, and it'll be this amazing trophy, a couple of action figures, and I sign them and stuff like that, and it'll be amazing. It was in the Middle East, by the way, so.
All right, so again, we do have a live mic. I don't know if anybody has any questions. No elbows and no shoving. I do want to ask, I chatted with you about this before, but about a month ago, the pro wrestler Ricochet cosplayed as All Might at a pay-per-view event. How was your reaction the first time you saw that?
It was funny because immediately when that happened, look at this, look at the bravery right here.
Yes. Yeah.
Just walks up confidently by herself. That's awesome. I got 500 emails and messages. See, you opened the floodgates. You became the one.
Everybody was afraid to be the first.
Everyone started texting me at once, including Gilbert, the guy who helps us get to a lot of these conventions and stuff like that. He's like, man, you gotta see this. You gotta see this. And so, I did see it, and then I reposted it, and then there were a lot of comments like, my brain is hurting right now. The guy who plays All Might and one of my favorite wrestlers are involved in the same thing now, so it's really good.
Anime is cool, y'all. Sorry. Don't you do that. It's cool now.
Hello, what's your name?
Hi, my name is Selena.
Hey.
I just met Justin this past spring, and I met you all the way at Shootokan a couple years ago.
Oh gosh, that was a while. Yes.
Yeah. So, thank you for being amazing voice actors and awesome stuff. What is the best part about voicing these characters and just being part of this fandom?
I mean, on a very selfish, personal level, of course, I just love getting to play this character and tell this super cool story. That is enough fulfillment for me. But on the next level, and in the broader scale of things, it really is getting to meet everyone in the fandom and coming to events like these and getting to pick your brain about what your favorite characters are and your favorite moments and all that. Because y'all are just super considerate and thoughtful and kind with your time and energy. So I really appreciate that. It's just such.
Yeah, I have to mirror what he said there too, because, and it's not only, it's a different thing though than we were used to in the past, because what used to happen is that episodes, we would record them in 6 months to a year later, sometimes even 2 years later, then they'd finally show up on DVD or something. You wouldn't ever really know. But there's this immediacy, and we're all sharing this experience of the show at the same time, which is really unusual. Even Dragon Ball Super and stuff like that, we were 8-9 weeks away from the time that we recorded to the time it went on television. But this is so immediate, and you get such a beautiful immediate feedback, and you can feel the energy in the room, and when we're meeting people, stuff has just happened, and we literally just did it, and you absolutely remember those moments, and that's the coolest thing. It's so nice that the Japanese, that Toho is working alongside of Funimation, and they're bringing their staff to meet us. And this is the first time I think we've ever, it's a very rare thing for the Japanese company to be really interested in the dub. And they have been interested in the dub since the very beginning. It was important for them to have a good one, and to have that sort of acknowledgement, and for them to make you feel like you are part of their team is so cool. It's just the coolest thing ever. I don't know a better way to describe it, but it really, for the long, I'm talking longer because I've just been doing this anime stuff for a little bit longer. But after doing this for 20 years, for the first 10 years, 15 years of it, we just felt like we were kind of putting an American stamp on something. All right, it's done. I guess let's put this on there so they can mass produce it. But now it feels like we're really part of this culture, and we're really part of making these things happen. And it's nice because people at Funimation genuinely care about what they're doing. I can't say it was always that way. Like 1998, none of us even knew what we were doing or what anime hardly even was. But now, everyone from the writers to the staff to the artists to the people who design the packaging to the people who like render and like put it up on the internet, everyone's a fan up there. So it's a cool time to be a dub voice actor.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Go beyond.
Plus Ultra.
Hello.
Hi, quick question for you, Spot. How would you think All Might and Vegeta would interact with each other?
Not very well, I don't think. It depends. Like Vegeta now, like if you've all watched all of the episodes, or maybe you at least watched the current stuff, Vegeta's certainly a different guy now. He's a father figure, so he might like maybe ask All Might like, so how is it that you are? How does one become? How do you say nice to children? How do you do that? So I imagine they would. I think right now Vegeta's a honed kind of older warrior, and he's got some respect now. So I think they would actually get along better than they ever would have in the past historically.
Yeah, especially in the Saiyan saga.
Exactly. I actually like the way you asked that question, because most people are like, who would win in a fight? But you're just like, how would they get along? What would they say? They had coffee together, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
High five.
Yes. Hello.
Hello. Okay, now, I want to know if your hero characters got themselves giant robots, what would they be?
The robots? What would they be?
Yeah, the robots.
Something that like breaks pretty easily. It'd be made of like Legos or something. I did this myself. I made it. I could be a mech pilot too now.
Very fragile robot.
Yep. That is both sad and hilarious.
See, I misunderstood your question. I'm glad he answered it first, because I thought you were saying like if we had some control over, like if our characters had control over what sort of robot they would be. Because I was going to say like All Might would just want a much larger version of All Might. And Midoriya would probably just want a much larger version of All Might as well. So. Can I have yours?
We're matching.
Get your own robot. But if it was one that was, if he was just a robot, he would be a robot that has really crappy batteries in it. That only work for an hour and then you have to replace it.
You guys do your job very well.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. We can still probably hear you if you just shout it.
Okay. Alright. Do you guys ship any of the characters with each other?
You warned me about this last time.
It comes up. Do you?
I mean, not really.
Oh.
It's kind of like, if it was canon, I wouldn't mind it, but if it's not canon, I mean, I don't really care.
Okay, I can respect it. Sure, and I think, you know, everyone kind of engages in text a little differently, so if you got ships that you love, that's super cool. I don't personally, and don't take this the wrong way, I don't think a whole lot about their relationships because they're in high school, and they're doing their own thing. So I don't know, if you have a ship that you love that isn't predicated on some kind of abuse or other weirdness, then it's all good. It's all Gucci.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, if it's not in the canon, I can't.
It must be canon. All right.
Okay, well, I was wondering if you guys have ever thought of either cosplaying or dressing up as the characters you've ever played?
I have, and people have approached me and said, "Hey, would you ever like to do this?" And so if they had a beard, yes, but I'm concealing a lot of mystery and darkness. So I'm not in a huge rush to shave. And if y'all think it'd be weird to see Deku with a beard, I don't know. It's all weird. But
Anything's possible.
Yeah, I would be the world's laziest cosplayer. I would have to either be the best cosplayer of all time, and it would have like pneumatics and stuff like that. It'd have to be like I would insist on it being better than anyone's cosplay ever. But since I know that I'm probably not motivated enough to do that, I probably would just be super lazy because I have such respect for people who cosplay uncomfortable, hot characters. Not hot as in like shit. We're not going back to the shipping question, your friend. But like, I have so much respect for people who will literally come and they've got all like these, like just these apparatus and they've got feathers all over themselves and they've painted their face a really painful looking color to get off. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for cosplayers, but I don't think I can do it. Like it'd be very difficult for me.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. I would love to see like an All Might cosplay that actually can inflate and deflate.
Yes.
Like you can just say, oh, okay, it's All Might time.
Just walk around with a compressor. You have to borrow the air comes to every convention as the dinosaur.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Hold on a minute, let me borrow this.
Ah!
Hello there.
Hey.
I was just wondering, has there ever been a moment in any show you've recorded for in the booth that made you cry or tear up in any way?
I mean, half the episodes I've recorded for the show.
Yeah, basically same. A lot is very emotionally touching in this show, and other shows I've worked on, absolutely. But this one really has a very human element to it that speaks to, I think, a lot of our hearts.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, would it be okay to ask 2 small questions?
No.
Sorry.
Sorry. If you could put a semicolon between them, then perhaps yes.
Alright, so, first, what would be your favorite My Hero Academia character? Semi.
I love that.
Play by the rules.
Oh, are we just going to start with the first part?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Toga. Yeah.
I'm a big Froppy fan.
Yeah.
And second, if you were to have a quirk, what would it be?
Ooh, shoot, I didn't start thinking about this yet.
Oh, jeez.
My quirk would be for any photograph that I ever take, it is always in focus. The thing I want to see is always in focus. It has really nice depth of field too. So, or I can dynamically change the depth of field of any photograph I'm looking at. That's the one. That's what I'm going to do with that one. Yes. So my ability is to take a photograph but be able to dynamically change who's in focus in the photo. We made this terrible pact together that we would honestly try to come up with a different answer to that question every single time. And it's hard. His are always better than mine, too.
No. Mine would be a quirk that it's not useful, but every photo I take is out of focus. So,
we're a
a
team.
real dynamic duo here.
So if you were to take a picture together,
Well, I would take a very blurry, bad picture and then hand it to Chris.
Yeah.
It would kind of make it usable again.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Solhan. I've been going to AnimeCon since I think I met you, Chris, at Anime Crossroads 2012.
Oh my gosh.
And you made that phone call to the kid, and that was really sweet, and that made me laugh too. But she is not.
I do love stealing people's phones.
Yes.
You want to steal mine?
My question is, what's your favorite bonding moment between, or funny moment between the two of Deku and Oh. Cuter.
I love the eat this moment.
Yes.
But yeah, there's one, and it makes me sad to think about, of course, but the episode where they're the teachers are going around to every house and saying, hey, we want your kids to live in the dorms, and if they won't, then bye. That was such a sad episode.
Yeah.
Happy, of course, but just like emotionally distraught.
I think I always go back, I always think of this when I think of the relationship between All Might and Deku. And it was one of the first things that got me in the show. And I never, it wasn't even got me in a teared up kind of way. It was one of the first things that made me really laugh. Is when All Might looks back and Midoriya is hanging on to him, and his face is just going like. That was so funny to me. Like, it was so unexpected.
Like, if anybody's deaf and reading that, they're probably scared right now.
That's it.
Double Detroit Smash.
Double Detroit Smash.
Take it easy. Oh my gosh. Oh.
Why'd you hurt Justin?
I'll be fine.
My name is Kyle, and my question is kind of like hers, but what is your favorite moment in the entire anime?
I like the sports festival as a whole, and then specifically, I love the fight with Deku and Todoroki. Just a great episode. It's gorgeous. Yeah, just gorgeous to look at. The themes are really beautiful. So I think that really holds a spot at the top of the show for me.
I mean, she said double Detroit Smash at the end of her question, and that was such a great moment in the movie. I don't know if all of you have seen the movie, but that's another spoiler. Sorry,
guys.
They have a double Detroit Smash somewhere, but I won't tell you where in the film. Let's see. It's still really memorable. Like, the beginning of the series is still really memorable to me. Like, there's the scenes where they're kind of up on the building together, and he's telling. It's still memorable to me that a lot of people go back to that moment. It's kind of like the theme of the whole show.
Yeah.
And for me, that's still a great moment for me. Every time I see it, I still get a little weepy-eyed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
No, thank you.
Oh, hello. So my question is, between Armstrong and All Might, who flexes better?
Well, let's see. Armstrong doesn't squirt blood out of his shoulder when he flexes. He bleeds a lot less out of his mouth. And All Might does have those additional sparkles that somehow appear out of nowhere, which is his own quirk. Oh man, that's really a tough one. But I'd say, like, All Might is good at a lot of things, so many different things, and he always smiles. But if there's one thing that Alex Louis Armstrong knows how to do, it's flex. So I know we are in a My Hero Academia panel, but in that respect, All Might sparkles, it's got to win. Sparkle Town.
Alrighty, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Oh, look at this. Look at this.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question.
Take a long time. I want to see your sister like struggle.
What would be the character's favorite animals? I got it.
She's like, I got it. I think I'm good. She's like, I think I can put him down. Oh man.
Right.
Wow, that's. Hey, there you go. Man, All Might would probably like little tiny dogs, like puppies. Little tiny puppy dogs.
I like puppies.
Me too. Do you have a dog?
No.
You don't. Oh. There you go. This must be a sad memory for you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring that up.
I was thinking like big dogs. Like I could see Deku just playing with a golden retriever, having a ton of fun. You're like a huge dog.
I like huge dogs too.
Me too. They're so cute.
Me too. You should get a dog.
My mom won't.
I'm just not going to win here.
Is your mom here?
No.
When you could have talked to her and said, I have a dog.
I know. Tell her to call me. I'll force
We'll work
her.
it out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
What do you think personally is like the hardest part about being like a voice actor, doing all that?
I mean, on the show like this, probably keeping your voice in decent shape week after week. Luckily, I don't have, like, All Might's not in the show as often, so I don't have to worry about it. But when you are working on, there was a season where All Might was doing a lot of stuff, and Vegeta was doing a lot of stuff, and Zoro was doing a lot of stuff, and Yami was doing a lot of stuff, and it's hard to keep especially when you're in a lot of these shonen type screaming shows. That's the hard part. I don't know. I think that's the obvious answer.
Pretty much, yeah. It's adhering to that sort of breakneck schedule that we have to do an episode every week, so make sure your schedule is clear and that you don't get sick. And stuff like that. Yeah, it's just keeping things consistent and keeping your health on top of it is, I think, a big challenge for a lot of folks. But otherwise, I guess, just the technical aspect for dubbing of having to match mouth movements isn't always ideal, but I kind of love it. I think it's a fun challenge. So yeah, just being there every week and staying 100% is half the battle, at least.
I'd say if I could think of a different answer to that question too, the other hard part is maintaining what you're doing in the booth while the rest of your life is happening at the same time, because as opposed to being an on-screen actor where you're in costume and your phone's probably in a trailer somewhere and you're just standing around waiting, like, we actually can have our phones on us, and sometimes when you're dealing with stuff that's like life stuff or work stuff or other things or things you got on your mind, you have to kind of put all that aside for a little while, and that can be really tricky too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 2 really quick questions.
Excellent.
First, what would be your favorite episode of My Hero Academia?
I really love oh shoot, which one is it? The one at the camping episode with Coda, and where you first meet them and everything, and it sort of leads into their battle. I think it's really awesome. I love that part of the series a lot. Oh man, this is tough. There's so many good ones. It's hard to narrow it down. Like, I'd say I recorded. I had if I'm just going to stay current, I had an episode this season that I really liked a lot. And it's the one they're in the woods, and that was a good episode, and it felt not only good to record it, but it was good for me as a character.
Okay, the second question is, can you do your voices?
Yeah, we can. That's what we do. That's our job.
What about right now?
What is your name?
Molly Sutton.
Holy whoa, I just met Molly in person. She's so cool!
Calm down, young Victoria. A hero must keep a straight face at all times. Keep smiling.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Hey.
I'm not gonna lie, a lot is wrong. Like, somebody already stole my question. My mouth is dry, so. So I guess I'm just gonna ask a fun question. So, All Might is more than his quirk. He's the symbol of peace. He's got a lot of charisma, and that's why he's #1 over Endeavor. So, what advice would All Might give to I won't say a punk, but a delinquent like Kazuma Kuwabara to get his acting?
Oh man, I have the feeling like All Might's other quirk is to literally inspire anybody. So it wouldn't matter what he said to Kuwabara. That's his other quirk. He can just inspire everyone to do anything. I think if Kuwabara met All Might, he's like, I actually kind of like you, guy. Okay, fine. I'll be a better person. I think they'd go to a Metallica concert together or something like that.
All right, man. That's awesome. Thanks.
Sure thing, man. He is here. No, wait, hold up. There's 2 of us.
I have 2 questions. They're kind of like the same, but what was probably the best episode that you voiced? Like, what was your favorite episode? Oh my gosh, I can't.
It's always hard when you like you can think of the question all you want, but the minute you're on the microphone, all of a sudden your body just goes like, whew. But yeah, we're all cool here though, so.
What was the worst part that you had to voice in one episode?
The worst.
The very worst. The fight with Muscular at camp. It's not. I don't hate it by any means, but it was the hardest for sure. It's the closest I've come so far to like really losing my voice and then leaving the booth like, okay, bye, thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, the worst is always like the really, really, really intense stuff. United States of Smash. I remember I could talk after it, but I didn't want to, you know?
What was the best part that you had to voice?
The rest of it.
Yeah. All of it really is amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I mean, it's a really, sorry, round of applause for this awesome person. But it is weird, it's very rare that you work on a show where you come in and you like every single episode that you work on. It's fun.
So I'm Josh. I got my main question, and then I have a question from my friend, but she's kind of shy. So if Deku had to give his quirk away to one of his classmates, and if All Might had to give it away to another quirk hero, who would it be?
No. No. He earned it. I'll give it to Mineta. Why not?
That's what I was going to say. Give it to Mineta.
Best answer.
Eat this. Oh. That was the answer. And what's your shy friend's question?
Why did Deku take so long to remember he had legs?
So in life, you learn lessons as you go through, and this time Deku, I think, realized that the only way forward is to put one foot in front of the other. Oh wait.
Thank you. How we doing?
Good.
I had a semicolon question, if that's okay.
Sure. Use the whole colon if you have to.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You got it.
It's said that My Hero has the potential to become a series like One Piece or Dragon Ball, one that's just really long but has a lot of quality in it. Do you think it could go that direction?
Sure. I mean, I think it's starting to already. I think that it lags behind some shonens because they take breaks, I think, which serves it well, and also it sometimes is hard to wait through. But yeah, I think especially if they keep at this pace and keep taking breaks and ensure the quality stays consistent, I think it could go for a while. I hope it does.
Yeah, I think it's all going to come down. I mean, it really, will likely come down to the mangaka, Horikoshi Sensei, whether he decides he's going to continue it or not. However, large companies that have very successful shows have means to inspire people to continue to do it. There's no way of knowing. We met him once. He definitely seems like he has a lot of integrity, and I have a hard time believing that he would ever let it continue to a point where it wasn't good anymore. So I have a feeling it will probably continue to be made until he feels like they can't do their best possible work, and I think it would be over at that point. But that could be a long time. I mean, I also get the impression that he's probably not susceptible to a lot of peer pressure either. He's definitely very individualistic. He's shy in front of people. He doesn't actually like to show he doesn't like to take pictures, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. He's young, and who knows? Anything could happen. He's been wildly successful. I know how to speak. I'm a voice actor. Successful. I guess there's no way. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I would love to see it continue, but I don't want it to continue past where it needs to be.
You don't want to run into the dirt?
No, nobody does.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we got about 5 or so more minutes, so we're going to try to get through as many questions, a little speed round if possible.
Deku and All Might. What if they were to be villains? What would their villain name be?
None for all.
More might.
Also, did you guys know that all the places that they go to are actually named after Star Wars planets?
Yeah. There's I can't think of any off the top of my head, but especially in the beginning, they went to all kinds of like, oh, so this is so and so. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, cool.
No, I never knew that. That's really interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember that. Maybe All Might doesn't travel to these places.
I actually got a question for both of you. How did you find out you guys wrote Deku? And then I actually heard that you said that All Might was the best character you ever voiced. And I was wondering if that was taken out of context or if that was solid that you mentioned.
I said it was I believe I said it was the role of a lifetime. But again, All Might and Vegeta are in different categories. Like I've said in the previous panel, like comparing the two is like saying, what do you like more? Do you like, Mickey Mouse or Rick and Morty? Like they're just so different from one another. They can exist in the same area and both be the best. Does that make sense?
You said, how did I find out?
Yeah, just how did you find out? What was your reaction?
Oh, I mean, okay, so basically they called me in, they said, hey, you've got a little bit of recording to do with Colleen, who I had known then was the director, so already I'm starting to think, oh, okay, sure, I'll be there. But they didn't tell me who I was or anything until I got into the booth, and then, of course, I was ecstatic. It was amazing, and then we really just jumped right into it.
Had you worked with Colleen before the show?
Never. I met her at the audition.
Whoa, that's cool.
It's crazy.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hello. Hi. I
Hi.
have a question for both of you. The voices that you chose for your characters, were they like just on the spot, or did you already have other ideas for the characters?
Well, you can probably hear just by me talking. It's not too different. But no, I just wanted to, as far as Deku goes, I wanted it to be as honest as I could. So I used, the voice that I had and made it a little more nervous in appropriate places, and then it just ended up becoming that character.
Yeah, and All Might was just looking at the character, trying to find like that ultimate kind of hero sort of voice that the only one I could do. And then a lot of it was Colleen's input. Colleen really had a very, very specific sound that she had in mind. And she did make me audition. She says it's not true, but she made me audition several times for it, asking for slightly different things until she got what she wanted. And a lot of it is also, the original voices are so inspiring to listen to as well. So, and maybe you're aware of this, but they let us hear the Japanese version first, right before we do our line, and then we come in and do ours. So luckily, we're in a place where the original performances are so inspirational that all you want to do is just try and do better than they do, which makes for a pretty good show because the bar is set pretty high.
Thank you.
Most physically draining character that you guys had to voice?
Might be Luck from Black Clover. He doesn't always get to do a whole lot, but when he is, like, the spotlight's on him, he's always yelling and laughing and carrying on and everything. So I leave the booth feeling very exhausted.
Yeah, it's a pretty obvious answer, but Vegeta is like the most painful character of all time. Literally just speaking as Vegeta's voice hurts after a while because you have to rattle the back of my throat while I'm saying that character, voicing that character, so it hurts even before I start screaming. That wasn't me. I didn't do it.
Thank you so much.
If either of you could add a city or state match to Deku and All Might's repertoire, what would it be?
Oh, I mean, personally, I'd love to see the Baltimore Smash. Maryland, I don't know.
Yeah. There's a really funny town, the name of a town in Texas called Cut and Shoot. So, Cut and Shoot Smash might be really fun.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
As voice actors, you guys do recordings at the same time, right?
Not always.
Not always. Well, when you have, what is maybe one of the greatest bonding moments that you two have had with each other?
I've never recorded with you for anything.
No.
Actually.
In fact, I insist on that being.
Yeah, that was pretty early on, and I thought you'd change your mind eventually, but.
These conventions are the most time that we've actually ever spent together. That's not even a joke.
Yeah, that's true.
because of the very precise nature of having to record a dub where you have to fit very specific timing into the characters' mouths, it's too difficult to record more than one person at a time. In Japan, it's done a lot, but if you've watched much Japanese like dubs, they don't always match the flaps as well. But I think Americans have a tendency to want to see it look as good as possible. So we always have to record separately. We see each other maybe in the hallways or like if you're directing somebody, but this is really where we get to hang out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, I'm going to be the bad guy here. I am so sorry.
Oh.
That's like the best question ever.
Can we answer super fast?
Yes, let's go. Let's go.
If you had to choose one villain to turn into a superhero, who would it be?
One who?
From the show or
One
any?
villain
Oh.
from the show to turn into a superhero, what would it be?
I mean, I like Kellen Goff, so I'm going to say Stain.
Oh, no, Overhaul.
Overhaul, sorry.
I mean,
Actually, I like Kellen, so I'm going to say Stain.
so not, yeah, exactly. Stay a villain. Yeah, I'll say, all for one, problem solved.
And C.
Thank you guys very much. We're going to get to your questions. And before we go, don't leave. If everyone can just gather around the stage right here, we're going to take a photo here of the group self.